This is a pretty interesting one for me because when I was coming up, there was a joke that said if somebody said, "What do I do if I have Bermuda grass in my lawn?" And the answer was to move. So it used to be, it's still a very hard weed to control, but chemistry's come around a whole lot, and there's some options and some understanding on how to take care of it that we were going to kind of go over today. So first, what is one of the easiest ways to identify a Bermuda grass is part of it that helps us is it's a warm season grass, which to me means that it goes to sleep very hard in the wintertime. So if you come out in October, November, or March and April, and there is a patch of just broom straw brown grass, you more than likely have some kind of warm season grass, which is probably either going to be a Bermuda grass or a nimblewill. So Bermuda grass can be confused a lot with nimblewill. They're both warm season grasses. They're both going to be brown in the winter and through the spring. One of the easiest ways I know to distinguish between the two is nimblewill tends to be more of a patch type grass. Now you can get 3 or 4 patches in together to make a big clump, but generally nimblewill is going to kind of stay in one spot, whereas Bermuda grass, if it's happy, it's going to spread and spread and spread. Another way to tell the difference between the two is if you reach down right by right at the soil line and pull a piece of that grass, Bermuda grass is going to have a very thick stem. Nimblewill is going to have one of the thinnest stems you'll see of anything in your lawn. So a very spindly little stem on that nimblewill. Color, nimblewill tends to be a little lighter green. Bermuda tends to be a little bit more of a darker, like a true green. So the problem, for a lot of folks, myself included, generally in the winter, or not in the winter, but generally through the spring and summer and fall, if it's green, I'm kind of okay with it. We run into a lot of problems, folks not happy with their Bermuda grass. They don't mind it in the summer. It's all green. They mow it. It's fine. The problem is that picture you can see up in the right. That time when a lot of folks' lawns are looking pretty good, and you can see that lawn right there looks pretty good, except for those broom straw brown patches of Bermuda grass. And that's the part that a lot of folks really can't deal with in their lawn. Another one there is in the bottom left. If you get that out in the lawn, it's just going to be a matter of time before it finds its way into your landscape bed. So for me, I generally might edge my landscape beds a couple times a year. You get Bermuda grass in your lawn, and all of a sudden it's turning into a bi-weekly thing. So it's very aggressive once it gets into your landscape beds. So kind of two of the reasons a lot of folks want to get rid of their Bermuda grass. So cultural controls. I know we got a lot of extension agents in here, and we know that a lot of folks tend to kind of skip over some of these sections and want to go right to the heart of it. What can I spray? But if you're maintaining your lawn at 2.5 inches, 2 inches, 3 inches, and you're trying to get rid of Bermuda grass, you're going to probably be unsuccessful. You might kill it, but it's coming back. So one of the first things we can do, and some people have, some research has showed that raising the height of your lawn, that you're cutting it at 4 inches, can help control your Bermuda grass. Bermuda grass is very aggressive, a very tough plant. It can deal with no water. It can deal with very lean soil, so not a whole lot of fertility, all those kind of things. The one thing it cannot deal with well is a lack of sunshine. So when you're growing that grass, when you're raising that mower deck up to above 4 inches, that's what you're doing. That early spring, early summer, you're kind of starving it of sunlight. And that's the one thing that Bermuda grass can't deal with, is that lack of sunshine. So also maintaining a regular mowing schedule. If you're the person that's going out there once every 2 or 3 weeks, and there's clippings laid down everywhere, that plays right into the hands of Bermuda grass. It can thrive in that kind of environment where our bluegrass and our fescues don't do so well. Another one is getting a soil test. Are you missing phosphorus, potassium, or is there something that in that soil that's not allowing that fescue and those cool season grasses to thrive? And so addressing those. And then fertilizing in the fall. If we go out and I know I have a lot of issues with folks that once that grass gets up and growing, late April, 1st of May, they're ready to get out and start working in the lawns. And part of that means fertilizing the lawn. That can really cause a flush in your cool season grasses, but it can also kind of give that Bermuda grass a real head start as you're going into June, July, and August, some of those hot months that really stress our cool season grasses. Those warm season grasses, that's when they're really thriving. So making sure you're following good cultural practices for your cool season turf, and kind of shifting the environment to favor those cool season grasses as opposed to the Bermuda grass. And so when we get to chemical controls, one thing that Dr. Askew, who is at Virginia Tech, they did a lot of work with some of these different chemicals and controlling this Bermuda grass. They call it shaving the squirrel. So basically the idea is just like a squirrel in the late summer, fall, is really trying to think about what it needs to do to get itself healthy in order to withstand sort of the harsh winter conditions. We're kind of taking Bermuda grass is kind of doing that same thing. Late summer, early fall, it's going to start slowing down its top growth, and really thinking about putting all of its resources down into the roots so it can survive our cold winters here. So we're going to kind of use that to our advantage, and kind of what we want to do is late summer, early fall, we want to do some things that are going to hurt that Bermuda grass as it's going into the winter months. So if you look at that on the right side of the slide there, they showed some pretty drastic differences in spraying in the summer versus spraying in that late summer, early fall, August, September timeframe. You can see with that Pylex and Turflon, the amount that came back when they sprayed in the summertime was 50%, down to less than 10%, around 5% of what they noticed come back late that next summer. So yeah, that timing is critical. So make sure you put your resources into hurting that Bermuda grass as you go into winter. Typically, for many years, this was about the only solution for taking care of Bermuda grass, and that's spraying a non-selective herbicide somewhere in that fall time frame, that late summer, fall time frame. You want to make sure when you spray that herbicide, you're going to come back and retreat. So you want to do all you can to kind of keep that grass growing. Now, if we've been getting rain like we have here, it's going to take care of itself. But if it's really dry out, you spray that herbicide. Make sure you get out and irrigate it a little bit, because what you want to do is kind of give that Bermuda grass a double whammy. You want to kill all that leaf tissue that's there right now, and then have the roots kind of shoot up some new leaves and spray those again. So you're going to make 2 applications. And then, as we know, with a non-selective herbicide, so think Roundup, glyphosate, you're gonna kill whatever's there. So with this particular option, you're not killing just the Bermuda grass, you're killing anything that was there. So give yourself a week after you've made that second application. Get out there with your rake, shovel, whatever you need to do, and get some seed in the ground and allow that seed to kind of fill in those areas, because it may not be Bermuda grass the next year that comes back. But if you have dead areas, something's going to come back. So make sure you're getting out there with seed and filling in those particular areas. So this is kind of our second option. And I would think of this a little bit more in terms of I've got some Bermuda that's kind of wanting to establish there. I've already noticed a few patches. I would kind of think of that roundup when when I've got 30% coverage, 40% coverage. That's when I'd think about kind of round up that whole lawn and start again. So this one can be as that Bermuda's kind of starting to establish in your lawn. So Pylex is kind of a new chemistry. We're gonna spray it at about 1 ounce an acre, which is very small. If you are dealing with a small yard like that slide I had previously, you're gonna be spraying at very low amounts of this Pylex, and it comes with a little syringe that can kind of help you with that kind of thing. But just be aware when you buy the bottle of it, it's a very small bottle and it's very expensive, but you're going to be spraying very, very low amounts. So, this option 2, you're going to spray Pylex at 1 ounce per acre. And then Turflon, triclopyr, which is a pretty common chemical that you can find a lot of places, at 32 ounces an acre. So that just kind of shows you that how concentrated that Pylex is. You're going to do 3 treatments starting around the first to mid of August. Apply it every 3 weeks. Keeping an eye on that and being pretty steadfast. You're going to need 2 or 3 treatments. And then one thing I did not mention is make sure that you include that methylated seed oil. They've shown some big differences in efficacy of these applications when just using a regular kind of non-ionic surfactant. So make sure you find that some methylated seed oil and include that in there. Also, that Turflon and the methylated seed oil together can kind of prevent some of this bleaching that you see down here. A lot of folks just don't deal well with this bleaching that you see right here, which is kind of what that product does. It kind of prevents that chlorophyll from being formed. So it kind of, you're not going to see the green, meaning it's not taking up any sunlight, which is kind of what that chemical is doing. So you're going to apply every 3 weeks. If anybody's doing kind of math here and you are looking to reseed some of these bad areas that this Bermuda grass you've killed, that's putting you in the 1st of October. That's getting a little bit late to be putting seed down. So one option for that is kind of taking this triclopyr, this Turflon out in that last application, which can put you kind of in the middle of September to putting seed down. So that's kind of a perfect time for putting seed down in the fall to kind of fill some of those bare areas in that you've killed with the Pylex and the Turflon. So then this third option is Tenacity mesotrione with Turflon. So what they've kind of shown with this is it really, what it does is kind of a growth regulator for the Bermuda grass. It kind of just slows it down, keeps it from spreading. And so what you're doing there is you're kind of, putting the brakes on that Bermuda grass and letting your fescue and your bluegrass kind of grow in there and outcompete it. So what it's a great option for is to, put a good kill on it with this this option 2, the Pylex, and then that next spring, what little you have back out there, spraying this and kind of slowing down anything that was left and allowing your Bermuda grass or your bluegrass and your fescues to kind of fill in those areas. So this is a good option, but a better option to couple with this option 2. So just a couple of do's and don'ts. First, do's on the side here. Make sure you identify what lawn species you have. You know, a lot of us just may think that it's green and it'll be fine. But there's some these are some chemicals that are what we would call hot. So meaning it could burn you if you get the wrong grass out there, and that might be a annual bluegrass or any number of different things that this Pylex could really hurt if you don't have it identified right. And then evaluating kind of your whole program. That's mowing, that's fertilizing, that's weed control, all those different things to make sure you're moving in a direction that's going to favor our turf type tall fescues as opposed to some of these other weeds. Spraying late in the summer, you know, that was a pretty drastic difference that you could see from early in the summer as opposed to sprays late in the summer, early fall, and just kind of thinking about that shave the squirrel as we're going into winter. With anything that we do, always read and follow those herbicide labels. Like I said, this can be a hot chemical, so don't be that person that thinks, well, 1 ounce per acre is good, so 2 ounce per acre is going to be great. You might end up with seeding a whole lawn instead of a few bare patches. And then manage your expectations. This is going to be an expensive process. And it's going to be a long process. You know, even these 3 applications in the fall, along with that tenacity, might not get all your Bermuda grass that you have in that lawn. So it might be a couple, 2-3 year process. So kind of managing your expectations. It's not going to be like going out and spraying a few dandelions and you know, 2 days later you come out and they're all gone. This is going to be a process for sure. And so some don'ts. You want to have plenty of leaf area out there that can soak up this chemical. So don't mow, you know, at least 3 days beforehand to let that Bermuda grass kind of grow up a little bit, put out some leaf area that can kind of catch that chemical and soak it up. And then also don't mow for a couple of days after. You know, let that chemical have plenty of time to kind of soak into that leaf and make its way down to the roots before you start any kind of mowing. Another one, don't spray during kind of long-term stresses. It can kind of hurt our fescues a little bit more than we want it to. So that meaning, you know, really, really hot weather. If it's staying, you know, above 95, 93 during that middle August time, kind of wait a little bit before you spray that. Drought being the same way. If it's really dry out and your lawn is struggling, don't add this on to the stress. And then, like I said earlier in the do's, do not exceed those label rates. If you're depending on the kind of equipment you're using, make sure you go out there and calibrate that equipment. Know how much you're putting down per 1,000 square feet or per acre, and have a good handle on that before you start mixing up your chemicals. Because like I said, this is kind of a hot chemical. Can burn your grasses, and 2, it's very expensive. So you want to make sure you're spraying that at the right rate. And then I included a couple of additional resources here. The work that we kind of followed, that I followed to put this together. It is from a publication from Virginia Tech. Dr. Askew down there, they have done a lot of this work on controlling Bermuda grass in kind of our section of the country. You get a little further south, and they're growing Bermuda grass. They love the Bermuda grass. You get further north, and it gets a little too cold for it up there. So kind of this transition zone right in here is really where the Bermuda grass is a problem. So therefore, they've been doing a lot of work with it at Virginia Tech. And then just kind of some basics there on fertilizing your lawn. That can have a big effect, especially if you're a heavy spring fertilizer applicator. That can really favor our Bermuda grasses. So give that publication a read. Links to both of them right there. And then if you want to dive a little deeper and you got some questions you want to ask me, there's my contact information at the bottom of the page. Yeah, that's all I got.